My mother Gladys told me they moved around a lot because my grandfather will wouldn't kowtow to white people, he said. And so, if you didn't back then, you're supposed to do what you're told. So they moved around a lot. But what happened to him, my maternal grandfather, he left out one morning. She said she was about maybe about 5 or 6 years old. So it may be around 1910 or so, I would say, 10 to 12, 1910 or 12. He left out one morning because they were sharecropping to get some supplies. They didn't see him again for a few years. And so she said, they assumed the slavers got him. Now, I know you guys are going to say slavery in 1863, that's when Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. It didn't end, okay? It didn't end even after the Civil War. There was still slavery, okay? Well, he was kidnapped and taken into slavery in Mississippi. And the only reason we knew what happened to him because he did escape. He was taken into Mississippi, and they said the reason they probably thought he was able to escape is because he looked white. So I guess he's running through the woods, and they probably just thought it was a white man running through the woods. But my mother said my grandmother had the boys all out working outside, because they were sharecropping. And Uncle Reevy said, Mama, somebody's coming down the road. Some white guy coming down the road. So she went and get her gun because at that time, that's the only protection. Black people can call the police or the sheriff and say, come out here, not unless a white man was involved in it. That's just the way it was. And she said, as the man got closer, they recognized it was their daddy, Will. And they ran out and grabbed him and got him and brought him to the house. My mother said he was a dirty dust ball. And he kept saying to my grandmama, Nancy, you wouldn't believe what I have seen. You wouldn't believe what I have seen. And being that my mother was so young, she said they didn't let her know what he had seen. But you could imagine is that if he was taken into the woods, some deep dark part of Mississippi, to work on a work farm, whoever was for, I don't know, that he's seen something horrible. And she said after that, he drank a lot. And sometimes when he drank, he and my grandmother would get in fights. But my grandmother was a big woman, so he couldn't whoop her. She fought him back. And oh yeah, she's still 6 feet tall. And they stayed together till he died. He caught pneumonia and died. But more drama came after that. They continued to stay on the farm. My mother's older brothers went into town, like my daddy did, to get some supplies. And walking down the sidewalk, this white man walked past. She's supposed to get off the sidewalk now when a white person comes past. He did not. I think it was only like 19 or 20. He did not. So the guy knocked him off the sidewalk. Well, us being young and not going to follow rules, he got up. Now, my mother told me he beat the man down. Now, my cousin Joyce, who was his daughter, later told me, I didn't know it till I was grown, know that he beat the man so bad he killed him, okay? But he came back home and told my grandmother what happened. And my mother said that she told him that we got to get out of here. She said they grabbed pillowcases, bags, whatever they could, and put stuff in it because they knew they had to leave because the Klan was going to, of course, kill us if they caught him. And she said that they had one of them old rotary type phones, and she called the next farm to know her kids were coming. And two of the boys stayed back with her. But before they could get out of the farmhouse, they had the Model T Ford coming down the road with the Klansmen on the side. If you ever seen the old Keystone Cops movie, the guys be standing on the side because they had dashboards in. And these white guys were there, and they turned off the road to come down the farmhouse. Grandmama did not wait for them to get to the farmhouse. She had a repeating rifle that belonged to her husband. She ran out the door running, pow, pow, with that gun. She hit one. Now, my sister Hattie said he hit in the head and the head came up. I don't know. But she killed him. She shot him. And she was so quick, they had to back off, and they back off the road. But she knew there was coming reinforcements. And so they had to leave. And how they got away is, people don't know this about the Black Masons, but the Black Masons, at least in that county, ran an underground railroad. And the Masons helped get them away to Atlanta. And that's when my mother met my father. He worked in the garage. She and her sister were in the laundry, and they married in Atlanta first. But when I was growing up, I heard it, but we were never to repeat it, and we didn't. My sisters, Audrey, and I never really talked solely about it to any of them when I moved to Michigan, and my sister Hattie and I would sit down and talk sometime. and we get to talking about that. But she's the only one. Well, Val and I talked a little about, but she's the only one who she and I went through the whole story together. So I said, okay, so I did hear that right, you know, and because we didn't know whether my grandmother and my uncle were wanted. We got one picture of him with Hannah because he wouldn't let anybody take his picture. But they didn't, I guess, because they're afraid he was wanted. Now, I'm not saying it's right that they killed anybody, but imagine what would you do if somebody was after your child going to take their life? Okay, I'm just saying, in that time and day.
You already know.
Right, right. And so, but I was always, and I've seen that my grandmother didn't take nothing off nobody, and she wasn't scared of anybody. It was just ingrained in her. She was not. My mother used to say, my mother is not scared of anything. But when you've gone through some of the things she's gone through, her mother had, I think about 5 kids, and they did have different daddies. But just remember, a slave woman didn't have say-so over her body, because 2 of her children were by white men.
This way you cross at. This way it's safe. Follow that light. Come across, you was in a free state. Once you got across that river, follow that light.